Musical Talk, the UK independent musical theatre podcast.
Welcome to Musical Talk at this very, very strange time. Welcoming back a familiar voice in the last couple of weeks. It's David Herzog. Hi, David. How are you?
Howdy, sir. Howdy, musical talkers.
I think we should first start by talking about our kind of New York trips that we both had.
Yeah.
Which was, remember going outside? Remember that time?
That sounds lovely and blissful, and like it was not too long ago in the far distant past.
Like it was 2 months ago. I can't believe, we're in April already.
Yeah.
I know we're all feeling that time is just standing still. If you're listening to this episode way in the future, it's just a kind of social explanation. We are under lockdown, aren't we, at the moment?
We are indeed.
So Skype is seeing more action than he ever has in his whole life right about now.
The website that everybody forgot is up and running and alive.
Well, Musical Talk's been using it very happily for many years. It's worked very well.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So what did you see? Did you see anything in New York, David?
I saw one show, and I saw it had a very good deal. I saw Phantom of the Opera, believe it or not, because I wanted to do my very first Broadway to West End direct comparison.
Okay.
And I have to say, London wins on that front. I mean, obviously, it's a show that's been running for years and years and years, goes through many different casts, not a lot of changes in terms of design and things like that. But I've seen many casts in London. I've only seen this production in New York, but all the London companies that I've seen were much more on the ball with performances and the technological aspects, unfortunately, than the Broadway production I saw. It was still enjoyable, but... generally much more preferred the productions I've seen in London.
Do you think the show is tired, or do you think it's because it was kind of that weird January, February time where everything's a bit discounty and audiences aren't really up for it? What do you think was happening?
What's interesting is that technologically it was a bit tired in New York, and the only reason I say that is because they made a big boo-boo, in my opinion, when they had the big, of course, spoiler alert, chandelier falling moment.
In case you haven't heard of it.
Yeah. In case you haven't heard, yeah. But you could clearly see stagehands with headsets waiting for a good solid second, at least, to collect the chandelier as it fell to the stage. And I thought, oof, that looked really, really... really bad from somebody, because even a regular audience member would have caught that. I mean, granted, the lights went to black and went straight into the intermission, and but yeah, that looked pretty bad. Other than that, performances were okay, not as good as the London performances that I've seen, or the actual performers themselves. They, of course, had updated a lot of the scenic design by the time the show had opened in New York, clearly by the looks of it, for scenes such as... the manager's offices and things like that. They'd put in a little bit more detail and things like that, but other than that, not much different.
And the orchestra, and I know Broadway has different rules as regards orchestras, so did that sound good?
I didn't notice much difference in terms of the orchestra, to be honest. It's in a bigger space, a bigger theater in New York than it is compared to Her Majesty's in London, so the acoustics will be completely different, but didn't notice much change initially.
I mean, I saw 3 shows and we talked about that on the podcast, but I still have an issue with Broadway and the way it operates, and a topic we're going to talk about in a bit, the very, very strict unions out there that are ruining a lot of things at the moment for a lot of people. It's interesting. I still can't go over the fact that my friend was charged $45 for a double gin and tonic on Broadway.
Sounds about right, yeah. I didn't buy anything, no merch, no drinks, nothing when I was there. Just the ticket that I got a deal on, and that was it.
I spent $75 on 3 souvenir brochures.
Wow, goodness me.
Which, it just sums everything up wrong about Broadway, doesn't it?
It does, and it brings the price up for everything, and it does make a trip to the Great White Way very expensive these days. You do get a lot of good quality for your money. I mean, it depends on the show, of course, depends on the production, depends on the cast, but in general, you do get great quality on Broadway, but boy, do you have to shell out for it.
Well, all the shows are closed anyway, so we're going to talk about the alternative options, which is interesting. It's such a cultural shift going on at the moment.
Yeah.
And theatres are doing what we've sort of been begging for them to do for ages, which is give us stuff to watch at home. Promote your shows, promote this art craft, and when the theatres open again, it's going to be absolutely joyous.
Yeah.
But you've been doing some research as kind of all the stuff that's suddenly available to stream, and it's changing all the time. So this is kind of correct at the day of press. Don't go looking for these shows, sort of in 3 years' time, because they probably won't be there. They might be. We'll talk about what the future holds. But, David, what have you found?
So I reached out on social media, and because obviously I'm seeing things on both sides of the ocean here with my friends in the business over there and over here. And some of the best recommendations are the ones that, like you said, are unfortunately probably won't be here by the time, and may not even be here by the time of release. For instance, right off the bat, you've got Andrew Lloyd Webber releasing his things over the weekends. And so by the time this goes out, both Joseph and Jesus Christ Superstar will have come and gone. I believe you can only watch those live or when they're listed on YouTube, and then they're taken off again, unless you know any differently than that, Nick.
Well, I think you're correct, but my issue is that these aren't unique. These are things we could buy.
Right, that's true, yeah.
So he's not releasing, sort of, I don't know, School of Rock or something for us all to watch, because all these shows are filmed. Yep. He's releasing stuff that you could probably pick up in your bargain bucket at Dollar Tree on DVD. Might he release Cats, the film, for us all to enjoy again? We don't know. By that I mean the actual film, not the film stage show. What else has Lloyd Webber filmed over time? We've got Cats, we've got Joseph, we've got Jesus Christ Superstar, we've got...
You got several Jesus Christ Superstar as well. You've got at least 2 staged productions of that. Well, one's like a staged concert. Well, and you've got the Jesus Christ Superstar Live that they did. That was very successful in the U.S. with John Legend in the title role. And you had the feature film of that from the 70s.
The one they've released now is the Arena production with Tim Minchin.
Yep.
Which is meant to be very, very good. But we've seen that. I know it's very nice of them to give it to us for free.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, what I'm enjoying from Lloyd Webber is his actual tweets. Have you seen these?
They've been fascinating, and all the piano playing he's been doing. I think those are great.
And also, I want to give credit to Matt Lucas as well, because he's done this song from his Shooting Stars days called Mr. Potato Man or something.
Oh, really?
And it's amazing. This morning, Brian May and him did a duet from it. He's had like Gary Barlow do duets. It's got a book deal already. It's got a song. There's probably a musical coming of it at some point. And it is lovely seeing all these musical theatre stars really opening up and giving us, little concerts for free and stuff.
That is lovely. And on websites like Playbill.com, which is another shout out I should give to, because they often update and say, oh, these shows are going to be streaming on this day. So Playbill.com is a good resource, most likely if you're stateside only, because often these websites have restrictions on regions and things like that. But one of the things they've been posting a lot are, like you're saying, artists performing to camera from the luxury of their homes, and but also giving recommendations or saying, oh, give this cast album a try or give this streaming service a try, etc. But like what we're doing right now.
Yeah. I saw a lovely... I mean, we can get Playbill here, which is nice. I saw a lovely interview with Stephen Flaherty and Lynn Ahrens talking about every single song on the Ragtime album and how they wrote it.
Wow.
And what's nice about this is that all these, quote, famous people now have time.
Yeah,
so they kind of are available to do. I saw a lovely... We're going off topic a bit, but I saw... It's not really off topic. Seth Rudetsky does this thing called Stars at Home.
Yeah.
And it was literally like a Frasier reunion.
Oh, no kidding. No, I don't know about this.
We had all the stars of Frasier all on a Zoom chat, just chatting rubbish.
But most of them are musical theatre.
Yeah, all talking about how they got the parts in this and how they went from Broadway to plays to Frasier and things and the future of Frasier. It's really interesting.
Amazing. I need to check that out.
And then here's BB Newworth just appearing on Zoom for 5 minutes.
Yep.
And who was the girl who played the agent, that wonderful Broadway actress? And what they said about what was great about Frasier was they were all theatre people, and Frasier was always treated as a play.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of their script writing from that group that brought, Cheers and Taxi and Friends as well. A lot of them are very theater centric in a lot of ways.
So, genius on Disney's half, perhaps, but probably not. Just an absolute coincidence. Is the day the lockdown started here was Disney Plus was released into the UK world.
Yeah, that's right.
We've always said that Disney are the biggest suppliers of musicals in the world. And they're not slowing down on Disney Plus, are they?
They are and they aren't. There's a lot of good stuff to shout out for here. They've got Newsies on Broadway, which is a live taping. Well, it mostly seems live of the Broadway production of Newsies. And I noticed that it's not called Newsboys over here. And neither that nor the original film are using their original British title, which is or was Newsboys.
No, I think due to the cult sensation of the film, it's known as Newsies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which was a show you saw on Broadway, wasn't it? And you loved it.
Yeah, absolutely loved it. I never quite enjoy things as much as one can when you see them taped and then shown on television. It's a very difficult art form to nail. So I enjoyed Newsies on Broadway for what it was worth. Obviously not as good as seeing it live, though.
No. But the dancing is astonishing. We've had Christopher Catelli on the podcast for a couple of times. Now, not to toot our own horn here, but we have about 9 million episodes for you, listener, to go back and check out. They are on the website at musicaltalk.co.uk and on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook and all that junk. So if you are bored and want some kind of musical fix, all this streaming stuff is good, and we are included in that list. So do go back and listen to previous episodes. Disney Plus has something very interesting and quite meta on it called High School Musical, the series.
I've heard of it. I don't know anything about it, though. Can you enlighten us, Nick?
Well, what I also find quite amusing is you also have a spin-off, High School Musical, the series, the special. So my understanding is it's set in the high school where they filmed High School Musical, and they're putting on a musical of High School Musical, and they're doing a TV docudrama about it.
Okay.
So it's kind of Disney doing what they do quite well, which is making fun of themselves, being quite self-referential. You have to know High School Musical 1 and 2, I think, to get it. There's even a line in the thing where they're talking about High School Musical, and he said, "Oh, I've seen the first 2 films, and I watched the first 10 minutes of all the other sequels."
It's got its tongue in its cheek, then,
yeah.
You're saying. Oh, good. Okay, that's good.
And
well, something else?
Yeah, go on.
Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Something else along those lines, I don't know if you caught on Disney Plus, is the series called Encore.
Yes,
which is hosted. Yeah, it's hosted by is it Kristen Bell?
Yes, also known as Anna.
There you go. Yeah, and she's one of the producers on it, and she hosts for all of 3 minutes in each episode. But they essentially get together cast from high school musicals that were done back in the early 2000s or the 90s, and they get them to recreate their roles on stage, which I watched one episode of that, the first one, where they recreated Annie, and I found it very enjoyable in a strange, bizarre way. Have you caught that one?
No, I watched a bit of the Beauty and the Beast one, because I prefer Beauty and the Beast over Annie. It's weird. It's kind of like a heightened, not High School Musical, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, because they're given a bit of a budget, and they're given Broadway directors and choreographers and musical directors.
But it seemed to focus more on the emotional. Well, the bit I saw, it seemed to focus more on the relationships between all the people.
Yeah, they're glorified high school reunions with a musical theater backdrop to them. Yeah.
Yes. Which is very entertaining, and it's nice to see. I mean, I think with Disney Plus is it seems to be obviously a platform for Disney, so it's surprising to see shows like Annie and Grease on there.
Yeah.
You think it would all be, and here's the 95,000th Beauty. I mean, there is Beauty and the Beast on it, but you think it'd be all Disney Junior shows. But no, they're kind of branching out into beyond their own musical theatre repertoire, which is quite good.
Well, and speaking of branching out, after their acquisition of 20th Century Fox, we randomly have The Sound of Music on Disney Plus, don't we?
Yes, Maria is now a Disney princess,
apparently,
which is nice. And any other classic Fox musicals that we have?
Well, no, and that sort of begs the question of what have they left off of Disney Plus and what's to come? Because as someone who used to subscribe to Disney Life, which people rarely talk about, I mean, I was initially told to avoid Disney Life. They said, "Oh, it's just a haven for Disney Channel type stuff," but Disney Life was a very, very good streaming service for Disney well before Disney Plus, and one noticeable.
Only in England though.
Oh, is that why?
And
Okay.
I think that's the big thing is that, once,
Oh, I see.
if it's not American, it doesn't exist.
Oh, I see. Fair enough. But one noticeable difference between Disney Life and Disney Plus is on the Disney Life app, you used to be able to stream darn near every single soundtrack and album from Walt Disney Records on the app, and that's been noticeably removed from Disney Plus. You used to be able to go on and find some really obscure music from a lot of their older canon and repertoire, and that's been removed. So I'm wondering if that's something that they might add back in later. And in addition to that, going back to the Fox stuff, because if they have Sound of Music, why not Oklahoma? Why not Carousel? Why not King and I, which are also Rodgers and Hammerstein properties that are still owned by 20th Century Fox?
It must be something to do with the Rodgers and Hammerstein estate, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, that could be. Yeah.
But if they got Sound of Music, why not have the others? Very,
Exactly.
very strange. Maybe they're saving that for Hulu?
That could be. Is there a relationship between Disney and Hulu?
Yeah, they own it.
I did wonder that. Okay. Yeah, because they reference Hulu in some of these Disney Plus programs that are designed specifically for Disney Plus. A lot of Hulu references as well. And I wasn't aware there was a relationship.
So Hulu is only in America, as far as I'm concerned, and doesn't. I've heard stories it might be coming here. But is that just going to be another streaming service we'll have to pay £6 a month for?
I'm not sure. It used to be a free service when it first came out in the U.S. That was its thing, and then but it became bigger and bigger and snowballed once it moved to this country. I'm not sure what it really does anymore these days, to be honest.
I think it was owned by America Online or something like that. I want to say.
You're kidding me. Now that's a
Remember them?
Whoever they are.
Obviously, there's a lot of Disney classics on Disney Plus, but there's also some kind of cute shorts as well. I mean, not necessarily musicals, but the exciting thing, which I am sort of enjoying on Disney Plus, because you can skip the bad ones, is the Simpsons lineup.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been watching those as well.
Which often veered into musical theatre, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. And well before Seth MacFarlane started doing much more literal interpretations, they were sort of parodying and riffing on musicals much before then.
What are some of your favourite Simpsons musical moments?
Oh, the first one that pops right into my head is "Stop the Planet of the Apes, I Want to Get Off."
Yes.
Either that "Oh Streetcar" with an exclamation point. Their musical of "Streetcar Named Desire."
I also like they did a My Fair Lady parody, where I think Lisa tried to train Willie, the groundskeeper Willie, to be a posh person, and featuring such hit songs as "Wouldn't It Be Adequate" and in the shack where I live.
Oh, that's what. See, I've not seen that. I'm like a lot of people. I haven't seen many episodes post sort of season 9 or 10.
Post season 40. So maybe check that one out. I think it's called My Fair Laddie.
That sounds about right. That's brilliant. And we should give Thos his Gilbert and Sullivan shout out and say, like most people of our generation, I think we were introduced to Gilbert and Sullivan through the famous Simpsons episode where Kelsey Grammer sings the entire score for Bart Simpson.
Well, sadly, it's not the entire score. It's portrayed as the entire score.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I would love Family Guy to be on Disney Plus, but I don't see that happening because, I mean, the problem is all the deals between the UK broadcasters, we've been kind of shortchanged a bit here.
Yeah.
We're lucky to get The Simpsons, which is a major coup, but I think that's the power of Disney very heavily being demonstrated. Frozen 2 is available in America on Disney Plus, but it's coming here in July, which is quite nice. Have you seen Frozen 2?
Yeah. April and I both saw it. Absolutely loved it. I think we both enjoyed it more than the first one, actually, including musically.
Musically, I think it's a bit stronger than the second one. The first one, even. I mean, could you imagine the pressure of poor Bobby Lopez and Kristen Marks, whatever her name is. I can't remember.
Kristen Lopez Anderson.
Kristen Lopez, yeah.
Yeah, you're thinking.
I'm getting all my Avenue Q writers confused.
You are, yeah.
We want you to write a new song and make it better than Let It Go. Off you go.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And they did it. So,
they did a good song. Although me and April and a couple of our colleagues as well thought that the song that she sang in the cave was actually more of the Torch song than Into the Unknown. Into the Unknown was a good song, and they clearly wanted that to be the next Let It Go. But there's better numbers in the film.
Yes, I agree. I can't remember the title. It's off. It's on the tip of my tongue.
It's like Reveal Yourself or Show Yourself, something like that.
Yeah, Show Yourself. That's it.
April's nodding at me now as we speak.
Thank you, April. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of. I saw for the first time the 25th anniversary of Les Mis, the concert, just randomly on Sky on Demand the other day, and that was really enjoyable. I enjoyed seeing Matt Lucas portray Mr. Thénardier, Monsieur Thénardier. I wouldn't put it past him. He could probably play Madame Thénardier as well. Yeah,
exactly. Why not?
And we had a Jonas brother in there, of course, just to make it relevant for the young people. And we had... but the amazing thing was when at the end, the original cast came out.
Yes.
And sung with the Barbican cast, and sung with the concert cast, and sung with the Queen's theatre cast. Mm-hmm. It's like the biggest Les Mis sing-along you've ever seen.
And the kids came out as well.
Yeah, for the schools edition. And then the audience are probably singing along as well. So, but it was kind of uplifting in this rubbish time.
Yeah.
To kind of see a musical about people overcoming hardships. There's another musical that the Chichester Theatre are streaming, which is catching my eye. Do you know about this one, David?
I think I've heard vaguely about it, but I can't remember which title they're thinking about showing.
I'm just looking it up now. So it is called Flowers for Mrs. Harris, and it was available last week, and it's a musical I don't know. It's meant to be very good. People are saying it's wonderful, so I might watch that. But the problem is we're sat at the computer watching them. That's what I don't like.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why they should be on YouTube, which is good, but some of them choose not to be on YouTube, or they're on Facebook. But it's lovely to see theatres picking up this effort.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's only a short episode this week, but let's end this with... Is this something that should continue? And why is Broadway being so dumb with their unions banning all this?
I mean, even actors who are in the unions and people who are, lovers and fans of Broadway wondering the same thing. I do hope that after this, more people at least archive their performances and at least film something of their performances, because that's been the problem, is that a lot of times a lot of these shows just have no record whatsoever. So I'm hoping this will get people at least into the mode of let's at least film these things and preserve them for posterity at the very least.
I mean, say they did that and they charged $100 to watch a production of a musical. Say Beetlejuice got filmed, it's now closed.
Right.
Do you think there'd be people who would sit down and stream it at home as a one-off, like they're doing with films? They are charging, let's use a Universal's The Invisible Man as an example, they're charging $15, $20 to watch that one-off as a family at home. And people are doing it, because that's how much it would cost in the cinema. It would actually cost less to stream it at home, because the screen is smaller. But say... Would you do that if there was a show that I could actually see this? I'm going to pay the price of a ticket to sit at home and watch it once.
If it was the only means of watching that particular show, and if I was that desperate to watch it, then absolutely I would consider it. But then you've got something that we've not mentioned before, which is Broadway HD, which does what Netflix and Disney Plus tried to do. I don't even know if you can get that over in this country, though. Do you know?
We have digital theatre over here.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing. But the issue is it's rights.
Yeah.
It's paying the actors who are once in that performance. Mm-hmm. They would want a cut of it. And this is where the unions are getting difficult in America, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they can, yeah.
But here, it seems we're less we're less fussy about what we do.
Well, they just don't have a stronger union over here. I mean, they're both called equity in both countries, but they're both very different kettles of fish.
Tell us about the differences, David.
I mean, having worked under equity contracts in the U.S., I could just say they're a lot stricter. They're a lot more on the ball with things. They are a lot more efficient in terms of what their union wants. Their pay rates are a lot bigger. I believe equity minimum for Broadway these days is at least $800 a week, I believe,
That's
if
nice.
not more. And that's one of the big differences. And the rehearsal process, I can remember working under an equity contract. That was the last show I worked at in the U.S. You had an equity representative from the cast who every 2 hours or so they say, or it's less than that, they say, all right, everybody stop what you're doing, 15-minute break. And if you don't take that 15-minute break, you will get a bit of a telling off. And very strict ways of doing things, very strict about their scheduling, about the chain of command. And some of these things are good. You know, if you've got an issue with, this actor constantly drops their cue, don't go and chat with the actor about it. Take it directly to the stage manager. There's a chain of command. So, some good things, some bad things, but in general, equity in America has a bit more teeth than British equity.
And I think we're seeing the dark side now with the fact that they had all these massive concerts planned, didn't they? And they've just all been cancelled.
Yeah, well, because you're seeing the biggest effect you're seeing right now is Broadway is actually saying that these shows are closed now, like Beetlejuice. It's not just we're postponing them until the end of the pandemic. It's Beetlejuice is closed, and you're going to see a few more just outright do that. Whereas, knock on wood, I don't think we've seen anything like that from London, have we? I don't think any shows have announced closure, as far as I know. I think shows maybe like 9 to 5 that were sort of coming to the end of their contracts anyway, or saying, we've closed early and we're going to focus on the national tour and things like that now.
Yeah, I think, Beetlejuice is interesting because they announced their closure before the lockdown happened, and it was for some time in May, I believe.
Okay.
And now they just said, we're just not going to open again, but we will be back in some form. Now, whether that means a London production, which would be very exciting, we don't know, or a US tour, I'm probably guessing. But I think, much like everything else, let's end this discussion on a interesting one. Yeah. How will going to the theatre change?
I hope that it reminds people to sort of not take for granted live theatre and the magic that can create and the sort of special quality it has than seeing something on a screen, even on a cinema. I mean, I hope it reminds people to not take cinema for granted as well, and just being sociable and going out and seeing something.
But thank you for the holiday special answer, David. But what I meant was, how will rules change in the theatre? Will we sit next to people once they open again?
Oh, I see what you mean. So you're talking about more like the practicalities once the reopen. That's a tough one. I don't think theaters can financially stay open if they're only allowed to sell a quarter less of the seats at least, so that people can distance themselves. What about the actors on stage? What about the backstage, where you can have very cramped conditions? I think it'll be quite a while before we see the theaters reopen.
Well,
it's based really on that.
Yeah, I hope all the shows survive this dark time, and once the theatres open, listeners, as I put on Twitter, you have to go and see those shows. Have a week where you see a show every night and see 2 shows on a Saturday, 2 shows on a Wednesday, a show on a Sunday. We really have to support the industry at this time. So I'm looking forward to getting back to the theatre. I want the next show. I want to see the new Les Mis, because the concert production kind of instilled a sense of enthusiasm for that show.
Sure.
And I think if I could get the ticket for that on the very first night theatres open again, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be an electric atmosphere. I think there's going to be one massive sesh once the country gets up and running. Don't you, David?
Oh, yeah, and I'd love to, like what you're saying, I'd love to have a ticket for the very first performance of any show on the West End, because every single theater will be buzzing. All the streets in the West End will be buzzing.
Yeah, be very exciting. David, thank you so much for taking time. I know you're very busy, seeing lots of people and doing lots of things, but it's nice for you to take time out of your day to talk to me. Yes, we will get through this together, as High School Musical says.
Hear, hear.
And
Shout out.
Thank you so much, David, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, Nick.
For more information about Musical Talk, please visit our website at musicaltalk.co.uk. You can email us at feedback@musicaltalk.co.uk, listen to past episodes on iTunes and YouTube, and follow our social media channels on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.